So we left off with the question, is there any way to determine which moral reasons are good in which circumstances? And I'm a little bit uncomfortable because I'm not sure whether the circumstances really make a difference, but a lot of students really think that is the case, that one principle applies in certain circumstances, that is A applies in the case of the trolley, but B applies in the case of the fat man example, for example. Okay, now, I think there's a way of looking and making and assessing whether things apply, whether moral reasons apply in various circumstances. And you might remember we talked about meta-ethics earlier on in the course as one of the disciplines within ethics. And meta-ethics answers questions about the nature of normative ethics, ethical theories. And if we're looking from a basic question that meta-ethics is intended or tries to answer is, are moral statements or moral judgments relative, that is subjective, or is there an objective moral standard? That is a question in meta-ethics, and there are really two alternative views, two opposing views about this. That is, one is a view that we've talked a little bit about, moral relativism. That is, and it's a view that all moral statements, all moral judgments, moral claims are relative to a person or a group of people. And the other view is moral objectivism, and a good part of moral objectivism is something called moral realism. And you'll see why we talk about objectivism and realism. But this answers the above question. That is, there is an objective moral standard. Moral objectivism says there is, but many people gravitate towards moral relativism. I mean, I also should mention that moral objectivism says that morality is not dependent on anyone's opinion. Moreover, moral realism says there are moral facts in the world. In the same way that there are observable facts, there are scientific facts, there are moral facts. But that's not the one that we're talking about, because many people gravitate. It's very in vogue today, and it seems people are taught this throughout their education, throughout high school, and in many humanities and social science courses, that you have to be tolerant of other people's views. And the reason, and one reason to be tolerant is there are no objective moral standards. That is, everything is relative when it comes to morality. And the way they will answer this question, moral relativism, is their claim that there is no objective moral standard, period. Claim all moral statements are relative to a person or a group of persons. That is, go back to our example of female genital, or my example I used earlier in the semester, female genital mutilation, being morally wrong or not. Some countries, they say it is, so it's relative to those countries, it is right, and relative to the other countries, it's wrong, or they say it's and to just understand that anytime we take a statement, doing fill in the blank is right or wrong, they're telling you it's an incomplete statement. It's just shorthand for saying doing whatever that is right or wrong for a certain person or for a certain group of people. That is, doing something right or wrong, just saying by itself, is meaningless. It's not true or false. What makes it true or false is when you make it subjective or relativize it to a person or group of people. And a way of expressing this kind of view is that any kind of moral relativist view has as its very general principle that an action is right or an action is wrong for a certain person or a group of people if and only if that person or that group of people approve of the action. That is, they think that they approve it, they think it's a good action, or if they disapprove of it, then it's a wrong action. Okay, so these are some of the essences of any relativistic view of morality. Now, you can see how they'll begin to answer that. It makes perfect sense. They're going to, for our problem, that is going to say, the first principle, that is, if we can save 5 lives by killing one, we ought to kill the one. That applies in the case that is relative to certain situations. It's right, certain people in certain situations or certain groups of people. So it might be right for certain people in the class, wrong for certain other people in the class.